Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from the Unique Academy.
अंकुर कौशिक को पहले बुलाना चाहूँगा कि उनकी स्ट्रैटेजी वगैरह डिस्कस करने के लिए.
Hello everyone, I am Ankur Kaushik, All India rank 37. So basically I'd start with prelims because the focus is prelims. Then I go with mains if interested and interview if interested. So the basic thing about prelims is what I did was I attempted like 2 test series in my 2016 attempt. I was IRTS earlier, ranked 485. So what I did was 2 test series back then. So like I also revised them. I made notes of them, like whatever explanations they were, not minding whether your question was right or wrong. Do read their explanations, make notes of them, keep on revising them. So because we just have 1.5 months for prelims, don't pick anything new. Static books everyone knows, right? Lakshmikant for polity and everything and all. So like don't pick anything new, but when you're writing a test series, be very honest with it. This time I only attempted 1 test series, but what I did was whenever I read a book, like if I was using 11th class physical geography, so I would make notes of the difficult parts. I would make a question. We had a group. One of the members is present in the audience who was a member of the group. He also cleared prelims. Sadly couldn't go through mains. So what you do was ask questions, right? If you have a group, even if you don't have a group, make a group with yourself, right? Just you are the member. Ask a question, write an answer. So it would be very easy to revise your book. Just write a week before prelims, because if you have loads of books, it would be very difficult to revise them completely. So what you do is ask questions, because your brain remembers questions like way easily than it remembers other things. So so don't make questions for it. Ask your friends, let them ask you questions. So it would prepare you for so that when you are in the exam, you won't leave a question if you have attempted or if you have heard of it. If you practice like it that way, attempt 2 test series at least, write 50 tests, and like don't go much on the scores. But probably good scores is really a boost. So don't stick much to the scores if you're scoring low. Keep on practicing. Before 10 days of prelims, you should stop attempting tests, but focus on revising back then. So before 10 days of prelims, you should be done with your tests, almost 50 of them. I attempted almost like 50 of them. And the second thing I would like to say, which I told my friend, was ki sleep before prelims. Like just write day before prelims. Make sure you have a 7-hour sleep, or else you won't. Else your brain won't work. There was no question in prelims which you would have heard of this time. Like it was not repeated from any test series. Nothing from nowhere. So you need your brain to be active. So for that, like you should have a good and hearty sleep in the night. If you're not able to sleep, have Red Bull, one of that. But that didn't work much for my friend. So yeah, so you could do that. So any questions regarding prelims, because that would be far more effective comparatively. Any questions about prelims? Cool. So I'll hand over like. So mains. So the thing about mains was I had written my mains earlier also. I couldn't score well that time. I had 136 in essay, 417 in GS, and 149 in interview in 2016. So this time what I did was, last time I had not attempted any essay. This time I attempted like 8 essays. Got it checked from my peer group, shared it with the group. So they had good comments for my essay or bad comments. So I kept them in mind, made sure my essay had dimensions. Supposedly there was question border disputes question was there this year. So what I did was I broke down into dimensions like social, political, economical, legal, international, historical. So I broke it into 7 dimensions, or that time I had almost like 10 dimensions. So make dimensions which you would spread your essay. Those would come only if you have attempted writing essays beforehand. That won't strike you right at the main. So you have to practice this beforehand. So going from essay, and also make your essay catchy. I started with the poem in the first essay. Second essay I started with an anecdote. So make sure you have those handy. You could get it from any test series. They have model solutions provided. They have those handy. So do it from there. Then regarding GS1, GS2, GS3, I'll start with GS4. I had my notes. So Ashish has notes. So what you do is, I had my notes from 3 tests. They would be available in the market. If you're sure of that, I was very sure of them. Get it, read them. If you don't find it good, then you have the basic books ready. Practice case studies first. During my paper 4, I attempted my case studies first and the second part later. Because case studies are very objective, you know what you have to write. You have to write this, you have to discuss this. The rest, the part A questions are not that objective, they're very subjective. So like I'll say go with the case studies first and the part A later. Then regarding section 3, GS3 and GS2, relied upon the material that was available in the market, which everyone does, means 365 I guess. So that I did very religiously. Also I made data handy and diagrams handy. I had a compilation of data, about 15 pages of data covering everything: women gender gap index, environment performance index, wildlife in India, forest degradation in India, and science and tech key, what is India's rank on logistic performance index coming to infrastructure, India's rank on ease of doing business. So I had those data very handy. I had made notes of them. I also had case studies written, like case studies if it comes in ethics. I had case study of Banco Bicano program in Jaipur, which was a program by Aarti Dogra, who is DM of Jaipur. So what she did was, it was making a entire district defecation free. So she had Nigrani committees. So just make 2 lines of that. This could also, we could make use of Banco Bicano program as done by Aarti Dogra, making use of Nigrani committee. So this is only what you have to mention. So because this is a very famous case study, so people who would be reading your answer most probably would know it. If they don't know it, they would be really very happy that you have quoted something that they don't know, which is very innovative. So make like 10 case studies handy. If it comes to, I will set another example, like when it comes to disaster management and ICT use in disaster management. So I had example of Gadchiroli DM, who what he did was during floods, message would reach to farmers that the level has crossed this much, so kindly prepare. So that way he, and also cyclone file in Odisha. So DM did a wonderful job. So I had those case studies handy for GS3. I used them like excessively in my GS2, GS3 as well. So have those case, and where to get them? There's a Niti Aayog has its on its website has best practices. You could go there. You could select the topic you want case studies on, or you could even select states. So go to Niti Aayog's website. For paper 3, they have agriculture research paper, 45 pages, beautifully written. And for law and order, they have 23 pages, beautifully written. For artificial intelligence, just read the executive summary in the first diagram. So they would have papers like Election Commission 2016 reforms that came in 2017. So be very, there are few sites that you should visit, one being Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog you should visit regularly. Don't go for annual reports, just go for their research papers, which are like 40-50 pages. But if you read something from them, like you wouldn't need another source material from them. Rest for paper 2, I had public administration as my optional, so didn't do much for part 1 because it was covered by my optional. For international part, what I did was I got mains 365. What I did was I made my notes, just 25 pages of them. And what I did was I did it block wise, like Latin America के साथ ये चल रहा है, East China countries के साथ, East China Sea की countries के साथ ये है, South Asian के साथ ये है. I also had data, कितने percentage economy का part है, कितनी trade का part है, कितने billion trade है India के साथ, because no one writes that, and that's really useful because if you are talking about international relations, you should know economy कितनी है. So like so I did that. And what I also did was I made like 14 dimensions of international relations, starting from border, then political relations, then economic, then track to diplomacy, then if we have anything like with Israel, we have then defense, then if the country is supporting India's candidature in UNSC. That's a very important topic. Even if they don't ask it, mention it. If they ask about India and China, you could, one point could be that China doesn't support India's candidature in UNSC, which would add to your points. So I had 14 dimensions of them, 5 or 6 of them, I don't remember much. So make sure you write those. Those notes will also be available very soon. So I have those notes with them. So that's how I covered IR. Then paper 3 done, paper 4 done. Then paper 1, standard books, whatever you read in prelims would most likely be reflected in your preparation for GS1, except world history. To do it like from the standard resources, there is nothing new to it. Rest your data would be very important in paper 1 social part, like poverty, gender gap index, hunger index for children. Then there are various indexes that people don't know, that like we have a democracy index, we have a global terrorism index, there would be another index which I quoted was social progress index, where to be born index. So these are indexes which are very catchy and these are not very common. So you could make use of those as well. So make sure, I went to the World Economic Forum site, EIU site, read all the reports and the names of the reports which they published. If I found them that they were useful, I would make note of them, just write one liner ki India ki rank kitni hai. So that's how I prepared for my GS for mains. So that's not too bad.
Sir, share some of your strategy for interview.
Interview, so this time what I did was, last time I had 149 marks, Arvind Saxena sir board. This time I have Smita Nagaraj ma'am board, marks are not out yet. So last time what I wrongly did was, I did not attend much interviews. This time also I did not attend much interviews. So maximum give 3 mock interviews, not more than that. 2 to 3 interviews are maximum should be given. What you do is, what I focus on my interview is how I sit in an interview. Last time I was shaking, my hands were shaking, my legs were shaking, despite the fact that I answered all the questions. So I got 149. But this time what I did was I paused and thought before every answer that I answered. Suppose I'll tell you about my interview. So there was a situational question. There were 4 questions I couldn't answer. The first of them being कि दिल्ली का education budget कितना है? I couldn't answer. I didn't know. Then he asked कि CBSE schools कितने हैं India में? I said I don't know. Then he said name a poem which starts after name of a flower. I said I don't know. Which was daffodils. He cleared. Because I had written a book called Of Lilies and Graves, so I had written in my DAF that I'm also a published author of this book, which is a book on poetry. So I knew they would ask something about poetry. They asked me to recite a poem and I recited a poem. So they were very happy about that. Then they asked a situational question, if a mob comes to attack you, what would you do? Everyone knows the standard answer कि खुद को secure करना, juniors को secure करना, फिर emotional intelligence use करना. But what you do is you pause. You take a pause, you think कि मैं मतलब I'll bring a very good answer, then give the standard response. So what does it reflects is that you think before you act. So that's what they check. Even despite not asking any question of my one interview board member this year who asked entirely about education, I got a decent rank of 37. And rest what I did was I knew where they would ask questions, so I prepared them well. I prepared poetry well. One of my hobbies is magic, watching magic shows. So I had prepared a magic trick which could be performed then and there. Then I had written that I like watching stand-up comedy. So I had prepared a joke which was not offensive to anyone. So I looked for it on the internet, like I really had prepared it. So that's how I did. And also luckily I got Smita Nagaraj ma'am board, like, who is not known for like giving shrewd marks. So that was what I did in the interview.
Sir, in mains, how to increase the writing speed?
Mains would come with practice. Writing increasing speed would come with practice. But if you are you're not able to complete papers, right? Is that your question? Yes. So what I did was, this time I wasn't able to complete my test papers in the test series, but in 2016 I had completed every test paper of mine. So what I did was I broke down my 20 questions into three parts. At first hour I'll write 7 questions, second part I'll write 6 questions, third part I'll write 7 questions. 7, 6, 7. So the first 7 questions being 3 from the 10 markers, the initial 3 questions, 1, 2, 3, and the 4 questions being 11, 12, 13, 14. So 7 questions, then all the 6 left 15 markers, 7 and 6, then all the remaining 10 markers. So the thing is, if you have a target कि इतने तो करने ही थे इस घंटे में, you'll automatically speed up. So that's what I did. If you're not able to do that, like attempt them in test series like this way, you'll surely improve, and it worked for me. So that was it.
Sir, even if we attempt handwriting is not that much legible, is it advisable to join any handwriting?
No, my handwriting is like, if you see my handwriting, you wouldn't understand it. So that doesn't. It should be legible. It should just be legible. It should not be beautiful. It should be legible. What I did was I increased my font size and gave more spacing, so I could like complete till the end of the space given. So that's not a matter if you have like. So Ashish had a really bad handwriting in the beginning, so he improved before mains. I couldn't understand a word of his, but he improved. He finished all his papers. So that's not a problem. Just increase your font size, give more spacing. It should be legible. Nowhere it's written it should be beautiful. It should just be legible. So don't join a handwriting program. Like, don't. So that's it. Anything else?
Sir, which poem do you recited in an interview? Hindi or English?
I had written my book in Hindi, in English, but when they asked me to recite a poem, I had prepared it beforehand. So it went like, I'll just say a para. It's a three para poem. It went like, मेरा तो कुछ और नहीं बस बल है मेरे सीने का, गिर गिर कर जो सीख रहा हूँ आनंद है उसमें जीने का, हंसकर लहू पूछता हूँ हर बार यही सोचता हूँ, गर गिरूँ तो धरती हिल जाए ना गिरूँ तो सब कुछ मिल जाए, गिरने से कभी डरा नहीं हारा हूँ पर मरा नहीं. So this was a poem and they were really impressed with that. So like if you have writing poetry, like pick a very good poem, but not very known. This was mine. I didn't copy it from any place. So do that. Work upon your strong points. Because what they'll ask in an interview, no one knows. You cannot prepare it. You can just prepare how you act in an interview, how confident are you in an interview, and how you respond to the questions which are in your ball court. So those are the questions that will really get you marks. Else, जो नहीं आता उसके लिए तो I don't know है. But I'll also tell one thing: don't say I don't know for situational questions. If the mob attacks you, what you'll do? I don't know. so they won't make it. So don't do that. But just the questions which are very factual, like CBSE schools, kitne, no one would know. Even if I would have guessed, there are just 18,000 CBSE schools all over India. So no one would have guessed that. So I just said, okay, sir, I don't know. So that worked for me. Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned.